Welcome to another edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio, where we talk rock because that's how we roll. My name is Bob Bannister, and today we are joined by Shana Elliott, all the way from the UK. You're in London, right?
I am. I'm not too far from London. I'm actually an Essex girl.
Essex, there you go. I have some friends from down there. I have some good friends in Devon as well.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Brand new singer-songwriter set to ignite the world on fire with a brand new single called Power. And it's just that. It is a powerful, powerful song. If you haven't heard it, check it out. So, you know what? I am seeing a lot of female-fronted and female involvement in the rock world. This is a perfect anthem for that, Shana.
Yeah, I hope so. I just think I wrote it with something in mind, but then listening back, and every woman who listens to it, they all have a different relationship and connection to the song. It could mean a breakup, or it could mean coming out of something that you've overcome. Or so, yeah, I just think it's a song that most people can relate to.
Very catchy, very radio friendly. I will say that much, and that's half the battle right there. So, tell us the story of Woman I Am.
Well, originally I came from a soul background, so I was in a soul band, in a big 9-piece soul band, and then I experimented with recording during lockdown, as everybody did. It was the first time that I'd started writing and stuff, but recently, well, my husband is the producer, but he's also in a rock band, and he's been trying to get me to sing rock for years, and I've kind of resisted. It's like, no, I'm doing my own thing. And then just by constant listening, and he introduces me to loads of new bands, and we go to festivals, I just got the bug, Bob.
There you go.
So yeah, started writing, and it just all kind of poured out. There was no intention behind it. I wasn't planning on doing anything serious with it, but I did it. And then he was like, we've got to use this for something. So it's just kind of dominoed from there, really.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the best way, discover something by accident and then it just kind of flows and works. That's really very cool. So, who is the primary songwriter in the band? Is it yourself? Is it your husband?
No, I do all of the vocals and the melodies and the lyrics, and he's working on the music. He's down the hut at the minute, actually. He's mixing another one. So
oh, there we go. So we've got an album on the way, do we? Or
yeah, well, I'm just going to see how it goes. But ideally, I think we've got like 4 that we've got at the moment. And then if it gets more, if not, we'll just release an EP. But fingers crossed, people like it, and it inspires me to keep writing.
There you go. That's a big part of it right there. And that seems to be the way that a lot of artists are going these days, is releasing singles and EPs instead of a full-length album. One of the other artists I was talking to was saying it's more economically viable. Is that the case?
I just get too impatient. I just don't think I can wait. Like, I'm really impulsive, and I drive my husband mad because I do something. It's like, right, I want everyone to hear it, and I want reaction. Even if it's negative, I don't care. It's just like, give me some sort of feedback. Am I on the right track? Does this sound okay? But yeah, to wait for an entire album, I don't know. I don't think I could wait that
long. And it's the whole DIY attitude that, like you said, it came out of the pandemic. Everybody was locked down, so they had nothing better to do than to, sit behind their computer and experiment, right?
100%. But if I knew as a little girl that I'd be able to go into my garden and make music and produce a single and create an album, and to be able to send it out to people like you across the world, I'd never have believed it. But it's just, yeah, technology is great. As long as you've got the people that know how to put collectively things together and it's acceptable, then I just wouldn't want to release anything that I thought wasn't quite up to standard. But fingers crossed.
Exactly. And you know what? It's kind of the same way for me. I've got 20 plus years of experience in radio, and it was all the same thing. You go into the radio studio, all this big equipment and everything like that. And now since the pandemic, it's, you know what? I've got a laptop, I've got a mic, I can do this at home. I don't need to go to the radio station to do this stuff.
I think it's quite empowering. It's like I can do it. You can do everything yourself. You don't need to rely on other people. And I don't like relying on other people. They're always busy, or they've got something to do, or they're not as impatient as me. So to be able to do stuff and get it out, especially when creatively you're like, I've got this idea and I need to have to wait and go to a studio, and I just think it's at our fingertips now. So creatively it works great for creative people.
And for collaborations as well. I mean, you don't need to be in the same room now. You can have somebody in, say, Canada and another person in the UK. I mean, we've got a band over here in Canada. Their name is De Raps, and they're from Montreal. And Jacob is the main songwriter and guitarist, and his drummer is all the way in Australia. And
Yeah,
that's how
amazing.
they make their music.
Yeah, crazy. But it is just a great way to bring people that wouldn't work together. And I think if you blend and you merge and you've got similar ideas, it don't matter where you are, and you don't necessarily have to be together. But I'm sure at some point it would be amazing if they did collab and see each other and play in person and feel that music.
Oh, they do,
Oh, cool.
but with both of them being in two separate countries, they have to all the international laws and stuff like that. You got to stay in your own country for so long. And so who are your influences, would you say?
Well, originally, obviously, as I said, it comes from soul. So Tina
Mm-hmm.
Turner, Aretha Franklin, anyone. I love all sorts of genres, but for me, a vocalist has to sing from their soul, no
Mm-hmm.
matter whether it's rock. If they feel it and you can tell they feel it, then I'm just absorbed into it. If it's just lyric and melody, then it kind of switches me off, and then I become a bit critical. But I have to feel and believe what they're singing. So going back to Aretha Franklin and Tina Turner, they meant every word. So that is kind of like what I relate to. But my biggest fear was when I was writing my own stuff, I just wanted to have that connection. I didn't want it to just sound cheesy. Like everyone I play it to, I'm like, does it sound cheesy? Like, please don't let me release anything that's stereotypical or but even though the words are quite, people could take it as a stereotypical, I just hope that the passion and the belief comes through my singing, really.
And it most definitely does. I can tell you that much. And you just kind of hit on something there. I think back in the day, quote unquote, back in the day, there was these walls put up where, if you were a rocker, you only listened to rock. If you were a soul artist, you only listened to soul. Those walls have come down now. I mean, it has to, because music is music is music, right?
And I love the fact that people are crossing genre, like Chris Stapleton, for instance. His
Yes.
voice is phenomenal, like literally. But he'll do country, then he'll go to rock, then he'll do a bit of pop. I just think it just opens up doors. If you love music and you've got the gift to write, then I don't think you necessarily need to stay in a pocket anymore. I think work with other people, work with different producers, and just let yourself be as creative as you possibly can, really.
Absolutely. Now, was there a big I want to do that for a living moment when you were growing up, like digging through your parents' records and listening to something and going, that's me right there?
Well, my mum always says that from the age of 4, I used to just say I'm going to be Madonna when I grow up. I think she's quite grateful that I worked because she went a bit controversial. But I've always known that I wanted to sing, and obviously getting on stage. I remember my first experiences, but I always said if at some point I couldn't, then I would teach. So I've been teaching for 15 years. So I get pleasure through seeing others do that too.
Mm-hmm.
And it gives me joy to see them being successful. I've had a winner on the X Factor. I've had a winner of The Voice, 2 of my students.
Oh, wow.
So it's incredible to see them doing great. But then I kind of felt like I'm betraying myself as well because I'm not doing what I'm telling them to do. So I've kind of had to really force myself to kind of convince myself that I am still able to do this and to try and not to stop. I don't care who listens to it, just as long as it's out there and I've put a bit of me out there somewhere in the universe.
So have you been out gigging around and playing shows as Woman I Am?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, my husband who's producing the singles at the minute, he's a drummer. We've got loads of musical friends. I just want it to be energy and enjoyable and fun. But I love being part of a band because I don't feel like the sole focus is on me. We share it as a collective. And I think if you're on stage and you're enjoying it with everyone else, then the crowd just feel that, and you don't have to be fronting for the crowd. It's just they pick up on the energy of the group. And I just kind of stand on stage and convince myself that nobody's looking at me, they're looking at everyone else. And they're like, no, Shana, actually, they really are looking at you. I'm like, no, they're looking at everyone. But yeah, so I can't wait to, if that would be a dream, is to get back on stage and just to have a crowd singing your own stuff, or even if it's just a tiny bit of the lyric, or just to get that reaction to see if it's accepted, and that would be amazing. So yeah, definitely looking forward to that.
And it's kind of interesting. You just touched on something there about nobody's looking at you on stage. They're all looking at the other members of the band. As a musician myself, when I go and I see people live, I'm as a bass player, I'm that's what my focus is, watching the bass player. Now, as a
Yeah.
singer, are you doing that, watching the singer? Because I know I've got
Yeah.
friends who are guitarists and they're doing the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously the singer's always going to catch your attention because they're the most engaged with the audience. Because, well, the musicians are collectively behind egging the singer on in a way, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I do. But since being with my husband, because he plays everything. He plays drums, guitar, bass, keys. So my ear naturally now opens up and it listens to others, and the amount of drummers that I listen to now, and I just think, wow, or I'll hear bits of music that I never used to necessarily listen out for. But yeah, live music, we can't be going to watch live music.
And before we wrap things up here, just a quick question. Do you have an album in your collection that you just absolutely can't live without? You have to have it.
I've got a Green Day album, Dookie. That is always we just recently went to watch them in Manchester, and it was just me as a 15-year-old just in awe of like, what is this music, and the drummer and just everything. So yeah, if I'm feeling down, I will always go to Dookie by Green Day.
That is an amazing album. I have to say that I love that album as well.
It's funny because I've got a 13-year-old and he's now obsessed with Green Day, and it's just strange because we were similar ages at the time that we got into it. But
right.
Yeah, in the car, I'm well happy when he puts his music on.
Very cool. So we're going to do this little thing I call This or That. It's a series of multiple choice questions, rapid fire. You just answer whichever one you choose, okay?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so here we go. Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Spicy curry or spicy wings?
Spicy wings.
Beach or water park?
Beach all day.
Video games or board games?
Board games.
Watching movies at home or going to the theater?
Movies at home because I'll usually go to sleep.
And as you're sitting there watching those movies at home, popcorn or nachos?
Nachos, definitely.
And then finally, the big one here. This is the big divider. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No. I'm vegetarian as well, so I wouldn't even have it with ham. So a pineapple on its own would be awful. So no.
All right. Shana Leonard, thank you for joining us. Woman I Am. Do you have a website?
I've got a Facebook page and my Instagram and TikTok as well. I've just got into. So Woman I Am on all of those platforms at the moment.
Very, very cool. And thank you for joining us this time around on Rock Talk. What do you got going on that's coming up that you'd like to tell the fans about?
I'm just obviously releasing this single at the beginning of September, my first one, and then literally rolling out with another one not long afterwards. So keep listening. There'll be more.
Excellent. Thank you, Shana. And thank you for joining us on this edition of Rock Talk right here on CGCM Rock Radio.